Yo, this is StyleKrong here with another Minecraft Departed video update thing. Actually not even sure where to start with this. I've kind of been playing Minecraft on and off recently, and kind of been neglecting. Let's turn this music down a little bit. Kind of been neglecting coming out with the update videos. I guess we can start with this room. There's this monster spawner that was here. I just decided to put a pillar in between so I can farm the string, because believe it or not, string is a really big pain in the ass to get if you don't have a spider spawner. Let's go ahead and just teleport to the desert town. That would be here. I guess I'll just show you guys what I did with, wow, this is really laggy. What I did with the obelisk on the other side of this sandy hill. You might also notice there's a bunch of shiny items down here. Like I said, I have no idea where to start with all this. Let's just take a look at the inventory first, I guess. This was one of the biggest decisions I had to make, was installing a mod to give more inventory space, which I was really hesitant to do at first because it's like, I felt like inventory management was a pretty big part of the game. But the more I played with all of these mods installed, the more I realized that with all the different types of items that were added, it actually became almost physically impossible to carry around everything that I needed to carry around. So at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I pretty much have to solve this by getting more inventory space, otherwise the game is just simply completely unenjoyable. And if the game isn't enjoyable, then it's not really worth playing. So I decided to get an inventory expansion. Similarly, there's also a mod that lets you, you can scroll through up to 4 hotbars, which is super useful because when you're eating food, you have to eat different types of food because they have diminishing returns if you eat too many of the same food. So, I mean, that was a gigantic hassle as well. Having to switch through foods every, like, couple of minutes, it was really irritating. So those inventory mods got installed, and I've been playing with them ever since, and it doesn't really feel like cheating or anything, even though, I don't know, I guess it's kind of questionable whether or not it would be considered a cheat, but then again, if you mod the game at all, I guess that's kind of cheating. Anyways, I don't know. Enough about the inventory. I lied. More about the inventory. What is this stuff I have on? This is a helmet from Thaumcraft that lets you see magical nodes. Much like this one up here. That giant glowy orb. Normally you would pretty much, you could see it, but you pretty much couldn't see it. It would be so dim. I guess I can show you guys what it actually looks like. Once I get rid of these chirpy birds. Get out of here, chirpy birds. There you go. Alright, so we'll just take this off really quick. So yeah, as you can see, this is what it looks like without the helmet. You can, I don't even know if you guys can see that on the video, but it's there, you can see it. It's very dim, but if you didn't know it was there against the sand, it's like pretty much completely invisible. Where did I put my helmet? Uh-oh. There's pros and cons to having a gigantic inventory. Okay, there we go, we found him. So that's this thing. It also gives a Vis discount, but I won't really go into that right now. I'm planning on upgrading my chests and legs at some point in the near future. Boots of the Traveler are super nice, lets you run super fast. Also lets you jump a little bit higher. The Sword of the Zephyr was actually how I flew up here. If you block, this thing lets you fly a little bit, which is pretty nifty. It took a lot of resources and a lot of stuff to make this. I guess resources and stuff are kind of the same thing though, so I mean that was kind of a redundant statement. Bow of Bone is also super nice. With the enchantments I have on it, you pretty much have unlimited arrows, and you can just kick everyone's ass. Except for that thing, because of course it's immune to being shot by arrows, go figure. Anyways, I think that's pretty much the main items that I made. Where is that wind sound coming from? I guess that's the Zephyr sword glitching out. Let's eat some steak here, and we can take a look at this obelisk. So these guys here, hey, that's not very nice. I'm making a video, bro. It's just a prank, bro. There's cameras. Okay. I guess we can just use our bow and disperse with this guy while I talk about this. So the guy who's in that glass case is a summoner of sorts. I think he's a cleric technically. But anyways, when you find one of these shrines, these guys start out channeling by default. And as they channel, they summon those knights who come out of the altar. And the knights have a lot of really useful drops, many of which you probably saw in my inventory when I went in there really quick. But these knights are super useful for being farmed. They're also pretty beefy. Like right there's a Void Seed, which is a particularly nice item to farm. But the only catch with this is that if these guys ever stop channeling, then they stop channeling forever, and they never summon knights ever again. Which would make normally finding these knights nearly impossible, or at least not worth the time. However, if you completely block, that's a nice glitch. That actually happens more commonly than one would like to think, where when you're firing an arrow, it actually like deflects back at you for some reason. I don't even know what that just was. Oh no, look, we're hungry again. Better get the food out. It's a good thing we have 50 million different types available, because otherwise that would be really tedious. I was talking about how this guy stops channeling, the knights stop spawning. If you block him, I think you can use pretty much any type of block. I decided to use glass just so you could see that the guy is still in there. He still is considered channeling, even though he's actually not technically channeling. He's still considered channeling because he hasn't moved from his initial spot, which I kind of found out on my own. And it's super useful to know, because it means you can farm these guys to your heart's content, get all the experience you want, get all their nice items, including the armor, which, believe it or not, this broken, shitty armor that they have is actually really useful in Thaumcraft. But we'll get into that later, I suppose, probably even in another video, because Thaumcraft has so many things that I could talk about that would probably be an entire video in and of itself, so we'll just leave that. But I guess you guys get the gist of it. This guy, as long as you box him in, also how I boxed him in, while these guys are channeling initially, so long as you don't attack their allies, they completely ignore you, no matter how close you walk to them. So as long as you don't attack these knights, which are running at you, which can admittedly be kind of difficult at first because they aggro to you no matter what. But as long as you can ignore them and manage to get close to the cleric and box them in, then you get yourself this nice mob spawner, which can also occasionally spawn zombies, which are also, believe it or not, pretty useful to farm in this mod, despite only dropping like rotten flesh and zombie brains. But anyways, we could sit here and fight pretty much all night, but we're not going to do that, because that is not what we're here to do right now. Okay, maybe we'll get rid of this guy. Maybe, unless he kicks my ass. He's actually pretty beefy. Alright. Let's just teleport out of here really quick. And we'll go back to our base. And I will eat some food after I kill a spider. Because why not? Some food. What shall we eat? Let's eat some... I don't know. I don't think I've eaten apples recently. Yeah, looks like apples were fine. But yeah, I mean, this food mod is really cool. I like it. The only issue I had with it was, like, the hotbar management became so tedious that it was, like, almost essential to install a hotbar mod to go with it. Look, I'm already hungry again. What, are you kidding me? Like, let's just eat some toast. I guess the saturation from the apple just wasn't enough. Okay, so we've gone over the Eldritch altar. We've gone over that spider spawner. We've gone over the inventory. So now that I've pretty much got a basic understanding of all of the mods, I've pretty much started to renovate my main base a little bit. I've got some grass growing in here because we're eventually going to move our resident chirp. Oh, I forgot a very important thing about the Guardian, so hopefully no one ever uses that as a guide, because they probably skipped over all the rest of this. But you need a name tag on that Eldritch Guardian. If you don't put a name tag on that, on the cleric, and he moves, when you go back he'll despawn. So you have to put a name tag on him. Unfortunately, anybody that probably required that information probably already left, so it's a good thing this isn't labeled as a guide video, because I would have failed miserably. Anyways, we're going to be moving these guys down here, our resident pet Chirpy Bird and Dr. Pony, the child-eating clown. We're going to be moving them up here at some point. This is going to be the pen for the Chirpy Bird. I'm actually putting glass down because monsters can't spawn on glass, which is very useful. But we're going to be moving them up here. I've already moved a ton of stuff to the back of the base, and eventually we're going to just be having, instead of having the entire base built at bedrock level, we're going to have everything elevated by a couple of stones, and we'll have a design similar to this all the way through. Probably going to be putting some kind of a farm up on this second level, but again, it's still in construction. Figured it would be kind of nice to be able to see this while it's in construction. I'm pretty sure this was already here before. I actually already started clearing out the ground level of this part for when we inevitably build out this way. Luckily we have our swords, so we can just fly up this way. I'm pretty sure the smelter was already here before. All this crap here, all these tubes and stuff, is for Thaumcraft. It's basically for extracting magic out of items, which at first is a really, really daunting and complex task, but once you get used to it, it's actually not that complex. I still don't have my head wrapped around entirely how the suction function works between the tubes, but I've got a pretty basic setup here to where you pretty much can't fuck it up. So I'm just using that for now for all the basics. All of these jars are actually the extracted magic, which were required to make some of these cool items down here. It actually took quite a while to actually get everything together to do that. We've got our nether portal here. We found a few nether fortresses and stuff, but nothing too crazy to speak of there yet. And other than that, we've got our research table. I suppose I could show you guys all the research in Thaumcraft that was required to actually get some of this cool stuff. So like each of these tabs required a note, and each of the notes have to be filled in with these research points, which are a really big pain in the ass to acquire midway through the game. So we had to go through and do a lot of research stuff to learn how to make all these items. Just like go through some of these. There's like the pickaxe and the sword and all that stuff. Eventually I'm going to be building some of this Thaumium Fortress armor, just haven't gotten around to it yet. Probably the biggest pain in the ass to unlock is this Eldritch tab, because you don't get it by default, and you have to actually get a bunch of warp to, ooh, Void Metal 1 caps. I didn't even realize I had that unlocked yet. Those should be pretty useful, actually. But yeah, this thing, you have to get a lot of warp, both permanent and I think it helps quite a bit if you have some temporary warp unlocked as well. And in order to get permanent warp, you have to research these specific nodes that have forbidden knowledge marked on them. But yeah, I think that's enough going through that Thaumonomicon, as it's called. We'll go ahead and just put that back there. And I forget what I even had in this tab. I think it was a shovel or something. Anyways, so still got a research table. This is another relatively complex structure from Thaumcraft. It's an infusion altar, and it's required for making and enchanting various items from Thaumcraft. For example, if you want to make the base items like the bone bow and the sword of Zephyr and pickaxe of the core, you actually have to put a normal pickaxe in the altar and then use all these extracted magics as well as some other items to infuse the item and actually change it into another one. And that has a chance to fail sometimes, which will like generate flux and all kinds of nasty stuff, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. It's also something that takes quite a while to like work out how to actually get all the magic and stuff, because you have to go and get all of these jars of magic, which requires you to understand how to make all of these things here, and in order to know how to make all of these things here, you have to get all the research notes. In order to get all the research notes, you have to get enough research points to get the research notes, and it's a really big clusterfuck of progression. Which was really tedious at first, but of course, just like anything, once you get used to it, it's actually not that complex. Anyways, so we've got that, and then we've got these two things here, which are also from Thaumcraft, although not really as complex. They're just infernal furnaces, and they're basically just like normal furnaces, except they never run out of coal. They don't actually need coal to operate. And when you smelt metal in them, they actually produce bonus ingots of the same type. I think it's ingots, or it might just be nuggets. I'm actually not 100% sure on that. I think it might be a mix of column A and column B. Either way, it gives you extra stuff, which is always nice. And then we've got our mine out that way. Of course, we've got lots of friends walking around out there. And I think that's about all I actually wanted to cover in this video. I know it was quite a bit this time, because I've kind of been neglecting to update recently. But hopefully that gives you guys an idea of what's been going on. And I might go back to streaming this a little bit here and there. Not entirely sure. People seemed to enjoy watching some of the Minecrafts, so I might do that at one point or another. The only problem with streaming this is that usually I enjoy watching streams myself while I'm playing this. So if I am to stream it myself, I can't really do that. So that's really been the only inhibiting factor. Oh, sorry, bat. I accidentally killed the bat. I feel bad, man. But anyways, that will do it for this video. And who knows, maybe next time we'll have all of this stuff built, and maybe we'll be doing some other cool stuff, who knows. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Until then, take it easy.